All right. Good morning, church. How you guys doing? I'm excited. Can you tell? Okay, good. Okay, so today I want to talk about something that is really key for my most recent period with God. And it's something that's been eating at me, not in a negative way, but in a way that it's getting rid of this old way of thinking. And it's just been birthing new ways of viewing my life and viewing Him. And so I want to talk about it with you guys today. And as you can see, the title is called The Main Event. So if you're a sport lover, you always hear that term, the main event. And I think about like boxing, I think about all these different types of sports, football. But the main event that I'm talking about is not necessarily like basketball where, you know, the finals are coming up. You get 7 games to win 4 games, right? Excuse me, right? And baseball, it's the same thing. You get 7 games to win 4 games. I'm not kind of talking about that main event. I'm talking about the ones where boxing, you get 1 match. Where football, you only get 1 shot, 1 game. And the reason why I'm saying that is because there's a different sense of urgency that's happening. Most currently, the NBA has the Western Conference Finals. They have Warriors versus Thunder, and the Warriors were down so much. They were down 3-1. And everybody thinks it was over, but they kept coming back. But you're given opportunities to come back because there's multiple games. But with boxing and with football, you get 1. That's it. So I want to talk about the main event. Now with boxing, MMA, you see how each athlete starts preparing for the event. They prepare physically. They prepare mentally, of course. And they're doing all these things to get ready for this one main event. This one main event that will define a lot in their lives. Now, sadly, for example, the Olympics. The Olympics, you only get what? Every 4 years, right? Every 4 years, athletes are able to go to the Olympics and perform. But if they miss out, they miss out. And that makes it so intense. It puts so much urgency in that main event, which is what I want to talk about. Now, the main event in our lives, we all have it. Every single one of us has a main event in our lives. And I'm not talking about when you've converted from the world to Christian, to following Christ. I'm not talking about when Christ is coming back. I'm not talking about any of those things, which those are huge. But I'm talking about something that we tend to miss sometimes. And this is why I entitled it The Main Event. And so the main event that I'm talking about is today. And if you are blessed to wake up tomorrow, the main event is tomorrow. The main event is the current day that we're in. And some of you might be thinking, well, what's the big deal? It's a huge deal. And I'll show you some scriptures in the Word. It's a huge deal that we look at today, the present day that we're in, as the main event. Because yesterday is gone, obviously. Tomorrow hasn't come yet. But all that we are, everything that we've been prepped for, all the experiences that we went through, all prepared us for the main event, which is today. And so I want to start with Psalms 39:4. And it says this: O Lord, make me know my end. And this is David. This is David talking to God. O Lord, make me know my end. And what is the measure of my days? Let me know how fleeting I am. Behold, you have made my days a few handbreadths, and my lifetime is as nothing before you. Surely all mankind stands as a mere breath. This is David. Let's do another one. Moses. Same Psalms 90. Psalms 90, verse 12. Very short. So teach us to number our days, that we may get a heart of wisdom. So you got these two guys who are in different times, different relationship with God, close relationship with God, and they're both asking for the same thing. Teach us to number our days. Teach us to measure our days. And I couldn't help but wonder, like, why are they asking for that? And why is that bringing them wisdom? And the obvious answer is because it sets the priorities. It shows you to live for this moment fully in God. It shows you what is important. And it's so easy to go day to day. I mean, who can attest that every year gets faster and faster? The days go faster and faster. And it's so easy to zoom by because technology is getting faster. Everything around us is getting faster. So it's easy to get all of our attention and forgetting that today is the day I have. Yesterday I don't have anymore. Tomorrow I don't know if it's coming or not, God's will. But today I can make the most out of everything that I am. I can take everything that I learned, my whole experience, and bring it into the main event. Because I only have this one main event. You don't have to turn there, but Ephesians 5. I just want to give you an understanding that the Bible has this theme throughout about your time and your days on how we should approach them. Ephesians 5, verse 15. And I'm just grabbing the principle out of this. Look carefully then how you walk. Look carefully then how you walk. Not as unwise, but as wise, making the best use of the time, because the days are evil. So I just wanted to show you guys these things because it's showing that the Bible, the wisdom is within this thinking of keeping your day the main event. Now this came to me, this whole thought came to me. I was convicted the last time I actually spoke. It was a couple months ago on the message called Upgrade. And I was sitting right over there. And every time I speak, I want certain things. I want God to clear my mind. I want God to really make me focus on Him. So I definitely try to gear my mind to not worrying about anything else but worshiping Him, focusing on Him. Why? Because I want to make sure when I'm here, the words that are coming out are spirit-driven, right? I want to make sure that everything that's inside of me, as much as I can, and I'm trying to get closer and better, everything that's inside of me, that God uses me to be able to give you the things that He's teaching. So I put emphasis and focus on that before I come on here. But here's the thing, as good as that is, God hits me with something. He says, wow, you put so much focus on making sure your words up here are spoken well to pierce hearts. Why do you feel like your day-to-day is not as important? And I was thinking, well, you know, I'm up here in front of masses of people. Like, I want to make sure it's all right. But he's saying, well, tomorrow's Monday. When you're walking up the street, your words are just as important. The preparation is just as important. So when we think of the main event, when we think of times where we either have to sing in front of somebody, do a presentation, or do something that's big to us, naturally we'll think like, man, we need preparation. But then when it comes to our day-to-day, it's, it's another day. No, it's not another day. It's the main event. This is the day we have. So I'm trying to make you guys understand the urgency in that day is that, man, we only have this. There's this kind of phrase that we talk about, like people who like sports, called Game 7. Like, you got to treat things like Game 7. And people who know sports, baseball, basketball, Game 7 is the last game of any series. Because one team won 3 games, the other team won the other 3 games, and there's only one more game to play, and whoever wins goes on or wins the championship, the rest, they go home. And I feel that we need to be able to take that Game 7, either you put it all in or you lose the day. Now, I'm not talking about failure or success. I'm not talking about that. What I'm talking about is the time that we have. Are you successfully making the most out of it? Is that the win or lose of your day? I'm not talking about your identity. I'm talking about what are you doing with what's been handed to you. You woke up. Each breath that we get, we think that it's just natural, but it's God saying, here, you can have another one. Here's a few more. Here's a few more because I have intentions for you to make this day the most that you can make it with everything that I've given you. I like Viktor Frankl, his approach to this. And I'm going to put it up here because I think you guys will need to read it too, because it'll sound a little confusing to some of you. And he says this, he says, live as if you were living already for the second time, and as if you had acted the first time as wrongly as you did, as you are about to act now. I'm going to say it one more time. Live as if you were living already for the second time, and as if you had acted the first time as wrongly as you are about to act now. So what he's trying to get at is he's trying to prep our minds to get in a state where we're reevaluating what we're about to do in each moment. So when you say, like, man, this is the second time I'm able to make this decision, like I'm coming into this life, if I could view this as if the last time I did something wrong, how can I correct this? How can I make this the best use of my time? What he's also trying to do is raise our level of awareness. As I was saying earlier, it's so easy to just pass through the day, pass through the time. But thinking about something like this allows you to reevaluate and raise your level of awareness. What's going on? What should be the main thing in this moment that I'm in every single moment that I'm in? And lastly, he's using this phrase to help us make better choices. Because if you knew you did something wrong in this moment before, if you thought like that, you're like, no, let me do this the right way. What's the right way to go about this? So, as I was talking about before, with how he convicted me, saying, the time that I'm here right now is not the only important time. It's when tomorrow, when I'm with my wife, my words that I say. When I'm with friends, the words that I say. Co-workers, whoever, people on the street. Those words are just as important as me standing up here right now. And that goes for you guys too. And so what God told me was, am I focused on the little things? How many of you guys know Gordon Ramsay? Anybody? He's the Hell's Kitchen guy, the chef, the great famous guy. Man, this guy is rough. He is rough. And Hell's Kitchen is a show, basically it's a challenge. And they call it that because, man, he puts you through hell. Like he really pulls everything out of you, some rough times in the kitchen. And so me and my wife, we caught on to the show a little late. It was like 9 seasons in, and we just caught the first season like a couple years ago. And what amazed me was I thought this guy was crazy. He would, if everything didn't taste right, he wouldn't put the plate out. Meaning, Let me paint this picture. People are coming to this restaurant. This is not McDonald's. This is not a New Jersey diner. I'm talking expensive restaurant. They're coming in and they want high quality service, right? And so they come in, they look at the menu. I'm pretty sure they don't even have the price on the menu. You know the menus that have the number, but it doesn't have the dollar sign? It's just straight up 6.5. It's like the temperature of the thing, or that's not, I don't know what that is. But I'm talking a high luxury type restaurant, everything set perfectly. So you have this restaurant full, and he's working with these cooks, these chefs. And the chef makes a mistake. I don't know, the position of the rice is wrong or something. I don't even think they do rice. It's not, it's not high enough or whatever. And so they have this stuff set up, and if he sees that there's something wrong here, he tells them, get rid of it, do it again. And so you got these customers waiting. And so it gets so bad to the point where he says, you know what? Shut it down. Shut the whole kitchen down. Tell everybody to go home. We're not doing this. I'm like, are you crazy? Are you serious? You know how much money you're gonna lose? You know how much people are gonna hate? They're not even gonna wanna come back. But this is the thing that got me. He was so obsessed with quality. He was unwilling to serve something less than what he can give. Are we concerned about what we can give that much? There was one time where he mentioned, man, we only use the best ingredients. So if it's a certain type of ingredient, we make sure we get the best brand of that ingredient. And I'm thinking, who cares? How do you know that you've got this brand versus the low grade brand? Like, nobody really cares. As long as the whole meal is set, you're good, right? But with him, his palate, like, he could taste the difference because he's been doing this so long that he understands that, no, the best meals, the reason that I'm here, because I cared about every single ingredient. And so what God showed me there is that, do I care about the ingredients? Do I care that even though you may not see the little things that I don't reveal my life, like put out there, whatever, all my mistakes or whatever, God sees it, right? Generally speaking, God sees everything with us. And it's so easy for us to be like, look, this is what I want to show people, but this is not what I want people to see. And because they don't see it, I'm not going to be too concerned about this ingredient, but they can see all the good stuff. But yet, we don't realize that God's palate is far superior than we can ever imagine. He tastes it all. What we serve people, he tastes every bit of the ingredients. If it's high grade, low grade, he sees and knows every single bit of the ingredients. So the question God asked me, like, Jack, do you care about the ingredients? Do you care about each piece of the ingredient? Now, here's another example. This literally just happened yesterday. I went out, I took a walk, and I went to this breakfast shop, right? Where they make all types of breakfast sandwiches and all this stuff. And man, they're good. They're packed a lot, and their ratings are great. I go in there, and for me, I didn't really want breakfast. I just wanted to grab something. So I knew they had like little candy bars, and they had this like, peanut butter candy bar thing. So I said, okay, cool. I'm gonna grab it, give them my change. I paid for it, thank you. So I go, continue walking. I open it up. I'm about to tear this thing up because I'm hungry. And I look, and I've seen this bar plenty of times before. And the consistency in the peanut butter was a little off. I'm like, hold up, this doesn't look right. So I'm looking around for the expiration date, and I see it, and it says, whoa, December 2015. This was yesterday. What were you, in May? This was yesterday. So I go in, I'm like, man, I picked a bad one. I go in, and I tell the lady, I'm not trying to, I know you got a lot of people here, not trying to make you look bad, but this kind of expired. Can I switch it up? And she's like, oh, whoa, yeah, you can. So I go to the big box, I'm looking, 2015, I'm like, oh man, this is not good. So I see her in the corner talking to the manager saying, hey, yeah, they're expired. And so I say, hey, I go get a whole different brand. I don't even bother anymore. I say, can I take this? And they're like, yeah. And you could tell they felt bad. But here's my whole point in this story. They were so good at making breakfast, they forgot to evaluate the whole experience for the customer. And which they lost focus on the little things. That's not their main thing, but that ingredient adds to the whole experience for the customer. When it comes time to that being something important, and you're not focused on that area of your life, that's gonna hit. I almost ate that nasty thing, man. But that's just, nutrition, blah, 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 whatever. But then we talking about life, souls, the words we say. Are we concerned about each piece of the ingredients? Even if it's not the main thing, are we concerned about the experience that we're about to give this meal to people? Now, when we talk about the main event, I want to talk about how we need to approach our main event. When we wake up or whatever, I want to give you an example. And Iffy, I love you. I didn't get a chance to talk to you, say if it was okay to mention your name, but I'm sure you'll be okay. So first, I want to talk about Ronda Rousey, if some of you guys know. If you see her in an interview or whatever, when she smiles, oh my goodness, she has a beautiful smile. I mean, it's like a child that's just so happy. Her smile is beautiful. But when it's the main event, and it's game time, her face completely changes. I mean, it's like, I don't even know you. Like, what happened to the smile? And she's so focused looking at her opponent, and I get scared for the opponent because it's like, oh, you're gonna get beat, like pretty bad. Unfortunately, she lost the last match, and I wasn't happy about that, but we're not gonna talk about that. But anyway, how we approach the main event. Similar, Iffy, man, I love her, Iffy. She's so sweet, right? She has a beautiful smile. She's so sweet. But when it comes time to intercessory prayer, her whole thing changes. Like when I see her, her focus is tapped in. There's no more sweet. There's no more smiles. There's tapped into God, and we're about to do this. We're about to go into battle. And what I feel is God's been talking to me about, and I feel like you guys need to tap into, is how do you approach your main event? How do you approach your day? I'm not talking physically how you look, but mentally what you're thinking. Like, I'm about to go into this main event, and I'm about to kill this thing. I'm gonna do the best that I can for my day. I'm not gonna let the enemy take over my thinking. I'm not gonna let circumstance beat me down or whatever. I'm coming in with confidence because I have his strength in me. How are you approaching the day? Waking up, it's like, oh, let's go. Because most times people, I woke up on the wrong side of the bed. Okay, you may have woken up on the wrong side of the bed, but you don't have to stay there, right? How are you approaching your day? You don't want any athlete to come in and say, man, I woke up on the wrong side of the bed. Hopefully this match won't be as hard. No. They're focused. They're going in to make sure they put their mental focus in it. Because they have the understanding it's not just physical, it's mental. So, still, talking about how we approach our day, there's something, my next point, there's something so key that if we don't understand this very point, everything that I said doesn't even matter. I mean, you could perform, you could do all these things that I talked about, but this is the key part. This is the number one key part that allows you to get the best results in your main event. So to introduce this, I'm going to talk to you about, not a story, a story. I used to own a sports car. It was a 1986 sports car, and I love this car because it wasn't not just the fact that it was a sports car, it was manual. And who drives manual in here? Just PA? Oh, yeah, okay, good. David, all right. I don't know, maybe I'm like too excited about manual, but oh my goodness, I don't care if it's a hoopty, if it's manual, I love it. Because it's like you are one with the car. So you get to control when the gears shift. You're listening to the sound of the engine, and when you feel it should shift, and when you feel it should move. Oh man, I love this thing. And when you go to automatic, it decides when it wants to shift. But anyway, so with this sports car, for a while, I had this sports car, and when I go to the gas station, for those who kind of know about cars, I would put regular in a sports car. I would put regular in a sports car. And for most of you, I'm pretty sure you guys are not driving sports cars like that, because not a lot of them are on the road like that. But with a sports car, the engine's not built for regular. The intentions that they had with this engine was made to have premium gas in it, premium fuel, not regular. So what's a big deal? You know, at first I'm thinking I'm saving money. I can save money, still gets me by, but here's what happens. Over time, you start damaging the engine. Over time, the pistons start getting holes in them. Not only that, through that, you're degrading the engine because you chose to put a certain type of fuel that was easier to put in. So the main thing that I want to talk about is what fuel are you using to fuel you in your main event? And the fuel that I'm about to talk about is so key to what you put in, because if you don't put this type of fuel in, you will burn out. This is what happens, man. People burn out. People lose hope, lose faith, because the fuel that they use in their main event. This fuel that I'm talking about is love. And this is how I want to explain it. There's a Gary Chapman. He's an author, and he wrote a book about the 5 love languages. Anybody heard about that? The 5 love languages? Yeah, it's really, really good. And just to bring some context in, for example, there are just 5 kind of primary love languages. People who want quality time. They can understand that you love them because you spend quality time with them. Another one is gifts. You communicate that you love them by giving them gifts. They understand it that way. Another one is words of affection, like I love you, oh man, I'm proud of you, and all these things. They understand that they're loved by words of affection. Another one is physical touch. Just, hey man, how you doing? Or if you're in a relationship, the little hug or whatever, they understand it through physical touch. I'm missing one more. And, oh, there you go, acts of service. They understand it through, let me make this meal for you, let me cook for you, let me do all these things. So those are the 5 primary, right? Here's the issue that happens sometimes. For example, me and my wife, I remember earlier, I would do acts of service for her, thinking, man, I want to show her, like, look, I'm love you. Like, I'm going to do this, I'm going to do that. This was earlier in our marriage. Until we had the talk, where she felt like she wasn't loved. She knew I loved her, but she didn't feel it. And she expressed, man, I want quality time. I had to learn that was her language. And I had to stop doing what I used to do, where she's sitting down watching TV. I'm thinking, oh, cool, I'm sitting next to her. I could work on some projects on the computer while she's watching TV. We're good. Then we had another talk. And said, no, that's not gonna work. She doesn't feel love I have to be fully attentive to her, because that shows to her she's loved. So this book talks about, hey, this is what happens. This is the conflict in relationships. We need to understand each other's love language. So just to build that context, right? But here's something that blew my mind, like that kind of made me think about something that this author wrote in the book and how he wrote it. He put on the bottom of the page a warning. It was like bold. It said warning. And it kind of looked negative at first, but when I read it, this is what it said. He said, warning, understanding the 5 love languages and learning to speak the primary love language of your spouse may radically affect his or her behavior. People behave differently when their emotional love tanks are full. People behave differently when their emotional love tanks are full. Meaning he said, watch out, things are going to change for the better. And that immediately made me think of, oh, wow. What about our love tank with God? What if we were able to open up, be free enough, build a relationship close enough that our love tanks are so full in God, how would we act? How would we perform? Will we slow down because our engines are filled with something wrong? Or will we reach high performance because our love tank is full of His love? So when I say the main event that is so key, that we understand the fuel that we use needs to be His love, it's because of the high performance that we need. Not only high performance, I want to explain something. Jawanza spoke a couple of weeks ago. Great sermon about think. And he referenced this book, right? This book is called The Freedom of Self-Forgetfulness. This is a powerful book. And he said it was a small read. Look at, you see this? It's this small. Please get this book and read it. It's so tiny. But something in here blew my mind that related to the whole love language, the tank being full, the fuel that you use. He said something that was so key. He said when it comes to religions, Buddhism, Muslims, whatever, when it comes to that, you perform, you reach a verdict of what type of person you are, right? Even in life, work, right? Corporations, you perform, and then we let you know, oh, this is the person you are. Here's the verdict. Boom. This is who you are. Other religions, you do good things, whatever. All right, boom, stamped. This is the verdict. You are a good person, or you're not. And here's the thing that Timothy Keller says. He says, do you realize that it is only in the gospel of Jesus Christ that you get the verdict before the performance? Everything in life says you need to show me who you are. You need to do this, and this, and then I'll give you your verdict. If we do it to ourselves, I need to do this, and this to show my significance, to see my self-worth. But it's only nowhere else in this world with Jesus that He says, no, here's the verdict, now go perform. This is the only place where you don't have to perform to find your significance, your self-worth, your security. This is the only place where the verdict is given first, once you accept Him, and then you go perform. This is a perfect example for why this is so important. Who knows Michael Phelps? He is the Olympic swimmer. 18 medals in the Olympics, the highest in the Olympics. Second place only has half of that. That's how good this guy was. But yet, after every Olympic, he either got caught drinking and driving, doing drugs, got caught again drinking and driving, 3 different Olympics. His world was falling apart. I mean, you're huge. What else do you want? And yet, this is what he said in an interview while he was talking about all those negative times. He says, yeah, at those times, I felt just like I was just a swimmer. I mean, just a swimmer? You accomplished all these things and yet still you don't feel any significance? After all this performance, you are the #1 Olympic winner, and yet still the performance doesn't give you significance. The performance doesn't give you self-worth. Your love tank is empty, and now you are acting out. And here's the key thing that Gary Chapman says in his book, 5 Love Languages. The second that you feel like your love tank, either spiritually or the relationship, is full, you no longer have to fight the fight of, am I significant? Do I have self-worth? You no longer have to fight that fight. In fact, with God, once you realize you have the verdict already, it's no longer fighting a fight that's already been won about significance or self-worth. Because honestly, we may not realize it or not, a lot of things we do is to find significance. Like, am I worthy? And God's trying to say, look, no, that's not the case. Now, once you have that, once you know that, all you have to do now is find your potential. It's just go out there and perform for God and just discover your potential rather than trying to discover significance that He already gave you. That's the thing that blew my mind. This is the only place that you can get that. Everywhere else, it's like you're constantly on trial. Are you good enough? Are you worthy enough? Are you significant enough? I want to give another example. Trophies, right? Trophies. Athletes, man, there are many trophies in different sports. For example, NBA, they have most valuable player, or they win the championship. And when you see that, when you see them come up and say, yeah, I won, it could do a few things for you. Either you kind of get jealous, it's like, oh, whatever, I could do that, whatever. The other part could be you feel bad about yourself. It's like, man, they're doing something with their life, and I'm not. Or you can get inspired. You can get motivated. It's like, ooh, I want to go do my thing and try to get to a place to win something. So these athletes, they sacrifice and sacrifice and sacrifice, right? They go through some rough stuff just to get to that point. That's similar to when Jesus came down here. He sacrificed and sacrificed and sacrificed, went through some rough stuff. I'm pretty sure you guys are not like jealous of the cross. Oh yeah, man, I could do that too. But with that, it's kind of similar. But here's the main difference. And not necessarily that, well, he died for our sins or whatever. Here's the main difference. With the athlete, the most you can get is inspired. The most you can get with an athlete, when they can dedicate it to their city, right? They can say, this is dedicated for my town. This is dedicated to this person, that person. But these people didn't go through the struggle, the sacrifices the athlete went through. So the most you can get is motivated, inspired. That's the most you can get. But with Christ's trophy, with his cross, right? What we get, he doesn't want us to just get inspired and motivated. He wants us to share in the trophy. He wants us to, oh no, come up on stage. Here, hold it up with me. Because I didn't just do this for me to show you and you get inspired. I'm actually saying, no, you can share in this victory. Not just in the, oh, I'm dedicating this to you. No, you actually share in the trophy that you cannot share with an athlete. You actually get to share in the suffering that you cannot share in the suffering that they go through, to truly know that, oh, you get to touch something great. With God, it's no, you get to share in this. And that's the fuel that we need to work off of. That's the fuel that we need. And here's a quote. I'm so upset with myself that I did not put this up, but here's a quote that he showed me. Your performance shouldn't define your significance. Your significance should define your performance. The definition of things powers it. You want to find a definition of a word? You find the power in the word of what it means. And what you mean should not be defined by your performance. It should be defined by your significance in Him. Here's my last point before I close. We talked about what the event is, which is today. We talked about how you need to approach it. We talked about the fuel that you need in this day. The last thing I want to talk about came from an interview, also with Rhonda. And they asked her, hey, what's your mantra? Like, what do you live by? What is your key philosophy and focus? And she says this: no one has the right to beat me. I thought, man, that's a little cocky, right? That sounds kind of negative. I'm like, no one has the right to beat you. Okay, high and mighty. But there's a story behind that. And I want to explain this because I want to apply it to us. Rhonda, when she was younger, a kid, she was in judo. And her mom was the first judo Olympic gold medalist ever. And that's your mom. That's your mom. So all her work ethic, everything that she learned about working hard came from her mom, because she said, listen, I know how hard you have to work to get this. So Rhonda comes into her first ever judo tournament, and she wins second place. She doesn't get first place. So she loses to this girl named Anastasia or something like that. And she feels bad. Like, I just had it, and I lost, and I got second place. So when she's feeling bad, like terrible, right after the loss, the coach, Anastasia's coach, the one who won first place, comes by and says, hey, you did a great job. And so Rhonda's feeling like, oh, wow, thank you. Like, in this low moment, somebody, the coach of the winner, says, I did a great job. And not only that, he explains, listen, don't feel bad. She's a junior, Anastasia is a junior national champion. So Rhonda feels like, oh, okay, that explains it. She felt good about herself at that moment until she looked in the corner of her eye and saw her mom with a disgusted face. And when the guy left, her mom comes to her and says, I hope you don't believe that garbage that this guy just said to you. And it's like, what now? Like, he just encouraged me. I lost a match, and now you're saying, like, what he said was bad? He encouraged me. He made me feel better. And her mom says, listen, this is a tournament. This is to determine who is better than who. They don't give out awards just because they won something in the past. No one has the given right to beat you just because of things that happened in the past. The win is up for grabs. And she was trying to explain to them, don't you ever accept losing just because somebody's past history says, oh, they have the right to beat you. And you have to lose. Because why? She was ready to accept the fact that she lost because this person had the right to defeat her. And so she learned at that moment, no, I can't. The win is up for anybody. Nobody has the right just because of the past. Nobody has the right to determine whether I will win or lose. And here's what I want to say to you guys. For the main event, your day doesn't have the right to defeat you. What the doctor says doesn't have the right to defeat you. What the government is doing doesn't have the right to defeat you. What your finances say, whatever's been in the past, doesn't have the right to defeat you. The win is up for grabs. It's your choice. This is the main event. No one has the right to defeat you, especially because we have God right here in us. You don't have the right to think about that. The enemy doesn't have the right to defeat you. In fact, Romans 8 says nothing can stop you from connecting with God. Your emotions, the report that's given to you, lawyers, government, whatever, finances, banking, who's going to be elected, none of that has the right to defeat you. I want you to understand that. You approach your day like that. You woke up on the wrong side of the bed, that emotion doesn't have the right to defeat you. You have the choice. So I don't care what the doctor says. I'd rather die believing that God's going to do what he said he's going to do. I'd rather die and not happen, but I still believe that he's going to do what he says he's going to do. Because why? It doesn't have the right to defeat me. And that's how we need to approach the day. That's what we need to be fueled by. And that's how we need to win the main event. Father, I ask that you put this in our minds. I ask that you keep this sealed in our hearts. This truth. With you, nothing has the right to defeat us. I ask that you grow this in our minds so that we understand we need the fuel. We are significant. We have self-worth. There's no more need to fight for this, Father. You've won that fight with your trophy, with your cross, and we get to share in it. So I ask that we tap into this truth so that the fuel inside will be powered by you. A fuel that cannot burn out. A fuel that comes with abundance. A fuel that's renewed every day. A fuel that is fresh every day. A fuel that is unending, that has no limitations. A fuel that you discover new pieces of it. Father, I ask that you seal this in our hearts. I ask that you just keep this in their minds so that they understand. The verdict has already been made. They don't need to find significance anywhere else. But that we go out to this main event and we make the absolute most of it because it's our choice. Listen, guys, your past, everybody thinks about their past. I care about your past. I care about the pain that you went through. But I have to say, again, it doesn't determine the day or the event whether you'll win or not. So let's take today the main event. Let's go out there because the win is up for grabs.